Okay, welcome. Good evening. So tonight I would particularly like to welcome those people who've come this week to our Transformation Week. So there's 10 of you here today, and there's one more lady, an Indian lady coming from India, coming from Chennai. Actually, she's coming from Arunachala. She's arriving tomorrow. So we often have some sort of strange miracles happening. And I would say for the last 22 years, we never had any Indian people coming to spend time in the house. But this week we have 3 Indians arriving. So two boys are here already, and this lovely woman is coming tomorrow. So how this sort of magic happens, I don't know, but we're very happy to welcome, of course, friends from India, because what I'm teaching is actually the very traditional, fundamental spiritual teaching from India, where I lived for about 12 years, and where every January I offer a 3-week retreat at Arunachala. So, yeah. The other thing I would like to say now before the meditation is that the text we're using tonight is from this book. I've talked about it before, but as so many of you are new, this book is Ramana Maharshi's teachings as recorded in his ashram in 1936. So 4 years ago on Amazon, there was published a diary that was made in 1936 in the ashram. And 4 years ago, we edited and published the first selection from that book, from that text. It wasn't a book, it was a text. And we published it under the name of Aham Sparana. So what we're doing spiritually is to come to Aham Sparana. So that book has already become extremely popular. I would say it's going to be one of the most important books from Ramana Maharshi. And 2 weeks ago, we published this book, which is the second selection. And this is focused on self-enquiry, which most of you know is what Ramana Maharshi particularly was known for. So I would strongly recommend these 2 books. You can now buy both of them on our Open Sky Press website, or you can buy them on Amazon if you rather give your money to Amazon, but it would be nice you give your money to our community, okay? Maybe you don't know this, but as we have a lot of new people tonight, I would like to share, for example, that our community is completely self-supporting. So since 20 years, we have developed some businesses by working hard, and we ourselves are, if you like, the master of our own destiny, which to me feels very much part of living in freedom. You can't really live in freedom if you're living under somebody else's power, if you like. So we are completely self-supporting, and those of you who have ever been to either of our communities will know that we work hard. We work long hours, we have lots of fun, and we have come to realize that working together has been the best possible way to discover what our mind structures are. And it'll become clear again tonight from the text that I'm going to be reading from Ramana Maharshi, that if you really want to become free, you first got to discover what your mind structures are, and then you've got to resolve those structures. While you still have lots of mind structures, you can't be free. So that may be surprising for some of you, but if you're seriously interested, then come to the house here and we can talk about it. So I particularly welcome the Transformation Week people from this week. It's been already at lunchtime today. I met a few of you. It's very nice. And I guess in the next days, I'll meet more of you. And I would say to those people that if you particularly have something you'd like a more intimate talk with, you can ask Radha to arrange a meeting with me. So I'm actually available this week every day. Okay, and so we'll do a short 12-minute meditation now. So sit comfortably and close your eyes, look inside, and bring your awareness to whatever is the strongest thing happening inside in this moment. It may be thoughts, maybe feelings, it may be body sensations, it may even be silent. So whatever you find, you just allow it to be there. You don't try to change anything. So I would like to invite somebody to share what happened for them in the meditation. If you'd like to share, you just, I seem to have gone off the screen, but you can just wave your hand as Owen was showing you earlier. I seem to be gone out of the meeting, which is quite clever. Wonder how I managed that. I think you'll have to put me back in the meeting, Owen, because I can't really function without being in the meeting. Oh, there I'm back. Okay. Okay, would somebody like to share what happened in the meditation? Okay, so I'll invite Basker from England. Would you like to share, Basker?
Hi, John. Yeah, just very quiet, just very quiet and silent, and very relaxing, to be perfectly honest. Um, yeah, it's just quiet. Nothing really else to
Right.
say.
You sound a bit surprised that it's quiet.
Well, I've had a lot sort of like going on with the sale of my parents' house, as you know, and it's been a bit of a saga, um, which is
Right,
sort of like made me feel a bit uncomfortable, but
right, right,
what will be, and it is what it is. But we finally
right,
got it over the line. Crossing fingers we can get it sorted out by the middle of next month. But I just had that hanging over me a bit. But other than that, I it was quite quiet, that meditation. I meditated earlier today, and it was pretty much the same,
right.
which is quite interesting. I've kept a picture of Bhagavan close to me. And I felt that was quite calming and has helped quite a lot.
Okay, good, good. Okay, somebody else like to share? And maybe for the people I haven't met before, it offers a little chance to have a dialogue about something if you want to also talk. Okay, go ahead. Just
Me?
one second, I just get you on this. Okay, good.
Yep. So with meditation, I sometimes go into like a flash of deep meditation,
Right,
and then I come out of it and I find it very hard to concentrate. It seems like 1,000 thoughts are coming at the same time.
right, right. So you don't regularly meditate in your life, even though you're Indian, you've been consumed by the European style of life, have you?
I have been through stages over last 20 years where I have experienced meditation and I've practiced regularly.
Right,
But recently, it's very difficult to meditate, especially
right, right,
due to certain circumstances. So
right,
I'm
right,
struggling to experience that, what I have experienced in the past.
right, right. Okay. And in this particular meditation now, was it fairly quiet?
It was like there was moments of nothingness.
Right, right, right. And you know this from your past meditation programs.
Yeah.
Right. Good. Okay. Somebody else like to share? Oh, okay. I just met you this afternoon, I think, as you passed through the community. So go ahead. Your name is Marguerite.
Margaret, yes. Hello, everyone. In this meditation, like I felt my heart beating so extremely, and then I fell into this heartbeat, and I was like, it was like pulsing. I was my heart, and I felt like I'm exploding, and then I was pulled down deeper, and then I was sinking down in the ocean. I was on the ground, and it was like the extreme heartbeat, and it felt so I'm exploding every second, and I get so hot. That's what I. That was my meditation now.
Right, right. Ah, it's very nice. So I'm sure you're going to have a nice time in our retreat cellar then.
Oh yes.
All right. I mean, one of the advantages of this Zoom meditation is that, for example, tonight there's about 30 people. And although it's through the internet, amazingly, when I first started doing Zoom meetings about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I was shocked to discover that people could have a very deep connection, even if they lived in Spain or wherever they lived. The Zoom meeting somehow brings us all very close together, and we get the support of the energy that everybody together is creating. It's very mysterious to me. Yeah, good, good. Okay, so then perhaps there's somebody else. Aha, it's our lady from South America.
Hi.
We haven't seen you for a long time, I think.
No te hemos visto desde hace mucho tiempo, creo.
Sí, mucho tiempo.
Hello?
It's been a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you from, I can't, Brazil or Venezuela?
Then I was born in Venezuela, but now I am living in Panama.
Panama.
But I was born in Venezuela.
But you were born in Venezuela, but now you live in Panama.
Yes.
And if I remember, your father came and met Papa G, or Papa came to South America. I don't remember which.
I can listen to you.
And your father had a very strong experience.
What happened
Oh, you
was
can't
that
hear me?
now I am listening better. What happened
okay.
was that Punja
Yeah.
was in Venezuela, and my
okay.
father visiting him in some place and a meeting, the place where Punja came to know people in Venezuela.
Right, right,
So my father has a big experience.
right.
Later, my father transmit to me the life, the experience when I maybe I don't know, maybe 20 years later, no, 15 years later maybe.
Right, right.
Yes,
Okay.
it was a big experience for me because I was 22. It was in 1986.
Right, right.
I got a big transformation, but the energy was with me forever. It's with
Right.
me. Yeah, I am
Right.
transforming the mind, my programs every
Right.
day. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, it would be lovely to meet you sometime. I don't know. Each January, I offer a 3 weeks retreat at Aranachula, and I've been offering it every year for 22 years. And we always have a very energetic retreat because I have a very nice connection with some of the local Indian masters, and actually several of them are women even. We have, I think, 3 women who will come to the retreat and give a talk. So the whole 3 week experience is often very strong for people. I don't know if that would be a place you'd like to visit. I guess you must feel a connection to Aranachula and Ramana's ashram.
Yes, I would like.
Right.
I was in India. I was visiting in another place, but
Yeah.
working is very nice.
Right. You know, Arunachala has become a kind of center for many teachers. You know, there are many very high-level Indian teachers there who are somehow connected to Ramana Maharshi, but they are making their own particular things. And in January, well, probably January and February, there are many Western teachers also who come there for some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a sort of spiritual meeting place. Yeah. Okay, it's very nice to meet you again.
And today, my experience today was very
Ah,
nice.
yes, sorry, yes, yeah.
I was doing my meditation. Some moment in the first part, I started to feel a pain in my heart. But this pain was with me yesterday.
From
But now
yesterday.
I was very, very, very strong during the meditation.
Right,
I
right,
remain with my pain in my heart.
right.
Then I start to feel like an abandoned feeling.
Abandoned.
Abandoned in my heart, in my mind, in my body. I was
Right.
a deep sadness.
Ah,
Then in the second part of the meditation, when you say go more deep, suddenly arrived to my mind an idea or a picture about my mother didn't listen to me when I was crying, when I was a little girl.
right, right. Well, you can forgive your mother now. Yeah.
Oh well, maybe it is what I have to cling to, understand, to forgive. No.
Could be, yeah, could be, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I feel that was
Right,
amazing. What suddenly the image appeared. Oh,
right.
it was because you were crying some moment and your mother didn't come.
Yeah.
So thank you.
The mind is pretty amazing. I was talking to somebody in this afternoon, and this woman was talking about authority, you know, how strong it is that we get from our parents this whole issue of authority. And when she was telling me that, my mind went back 35 years ago in India, where I had gone to a restaurant to eat lunch. And in that moment, sitting there, a family came, daddy, mummy, and two kids. They came and sat down, and the waiter came and offered the menu. And I remember that I was so surprised to see the father took the menu and he ordered the food for everybody without really asking if they particularly liked something particular to eat, you know. And how my mind could delve back into the past 35 years and pick out something that really was not that important at the time. I found this really amazing. So the mind is an incredible, you know, facility we have, incredible facility. And at the same time, we tend to get too caught up in the mind. Yeah, we too much in the past with different stories and different emotional moments and so on. Okay, good, good.
Thank you.
Where are we now? Okay, gallery, okay. Somebody else like to share their meditation?
¿Alguien más le gustaría compartir la meditación?
Okay, how about Matthias in the corner there? I think we haven't met before, but you're, where are we? Yeah.
Okay.
Good, good.
Hello.
Okay, what nationality are you?
German.
German, okay.
I was in your house in April
Okay.
at Radha's Tantra seminar
Okay, recently then.
recently.
Okay, good.
And I will book now the yoga retreat in Spain in September.
Ah,
So,
okay, good.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Today
yes.
we sent out the newsletter. We send out every month a newsletter, and the one this month, well, it was for March. No, it was for April. There's a whole list of weekend retreats we're offering this year. So I can just say this to everybody, that if you would like to get more involved by trying some of our programs, we're offering many different kinds of programs this year at weekends. And then in September, I'm offering a 2-week retreat in Spain. And in May, I have a 9-day retreat, but also in Spain. We have a very beautiful house near Valencia in Spain. Yeah.
So I have a question
Yeah.
about Ramana's teaching.
Okay.
So my experience is that there are glimpses that I awake to what is real. So coming out of all of my dreams and thoughts to really experience what is around me. The tree, the house, the sky, the sun. And Ramana says this outer reality is not real. It's a dream.
He says it's an illusion, yeah.
So this is strange.
Bit shocking, in fact.
Yes, yes. Because my experience is when I wake up from all of my thoughts and dreams and inner dramas or whatever, come to silence, and then I see what is around, and it fulfills me deeply, deeply. So I can say all I see, grass, mountains, whatever, is so real and filling for me. I never would say it is a dream.
Right. So maybe the thing you have to investigate is for me. You say for me.
Yeah, okay.
So Ramana's teaching, and what we're going to talk about again tonight, this who am I, this me.
Yeah, okay.
So the way you've just expressed your experience is that you have been somebody, experiencing the grass and the whatever it is. So this you have to investigate, and this is actually what we're going to look at tonight, because this book I was telling you is really exactly on this issue and the question you have. The thing that's really wonderful about this material is that in Ramana's own words, over 3 or 4 months, he gave very detailed answers to these questions about who am I.
Yeah. I have the first of these books is translated in German.
Right.
This I'm now reading, and I wait for the second to be translated in German. That's easier for me.
Yeah. We've started the translation. It will take some time yet, but we're translating it into German as quick as we can now. Yeah. At the moment, it's only available in English, but I guess in maybe 1 or 2 months it will be in German.
Oh, fine.
Yeah. Good. Anyway, nice to meet you, and perhaps we'll see each other again in September, perhaps.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good. Do you live anywhere near where we are here in Germany?
In south of Germany, around 400 kilometers south.
Okay. Good. Okay, so I think I move on to the text for tonight. So those of you who would like to know, it's this particular text that I selected is on page. No, I've lost the page, of course. Maybe somebody can tell me the page. Oh, here it is. So it's on page 153 and 154 in this particular book. Oh dear. So I'm going to read the whole text, which is 3 paragraphs. And then I'm going to go through each paragraph and discuss it. So somebody asked Ramana a question. This is on the 2nd of September in 1936. Some people go on asking themselves, who am I? But see no result. Others put the question once, and it suffices for them to realize the self. How to explain this? And then Bhagwan answered, Vishara is verily the most destructive weapon with which to obliterate the ego. As to this, there can be no doubt whatsoever. The weapon, being simply a mantra, was always the same. What was the potency of the person wielding it would be the question. For without considerable spiritual potency, such a mighty weapon could not be wielded. Likewise, the question, who am I, is the same for all. What is the intensity of the particular individual's renunciation that drives deployment of the weapon by him known as Vishara? That is the question. And then he gives an example. A dim-witted participant in a game of chess plods through the various ranks of the king's army before finally reaching the king and checkmating him. A warlord with no access to the weapons made available by recent developments in the applied physical sciences plods through the various battalions of the army he wages war against, before finally forcing it to ask for an amnesty. Likewise, one practicing Vishara with a weak or insufficient quantum of renunciation may have to renounce and finish off tendency of the mind after another before finally reaching the stronghold of the I thought. And the third, on the other hand, if your renunciation is remarkably great or immense, or a single extraordinarily powerful instance of bombardment with the weapon, who am I, will suffice to finish off the I thought once and for all. Weapon is the same. How forcefully are you throwing it? The greater the velocity, the greater the impact. Vicharas does not have any intended target. It is ideally deployed in the total absence of will and also varies according to the initial momentum. If used with immense renunciation, Vichara lands upon the I thought as a bomb. Else it lands upon some tendency of the mind as a few pieces of buckshot. It is left entirely to you how strenuous you throw this weapon. Okay. So if we look at the first paragraph, I'll read it again and then I'll make some comments. Vishara is verily the most destructive weapon with which to obliterate the ego. I mean, this is the central teaching from Ramana Maharshi, and it works. So I've had several of my students who've practiced this particular who am I technique, and who had, how can I say, they had a high priority in their lives. I remember many years ago now, one of my students had gone to one of the Canary Islands for a holiday. And when she got there, she decided that she wanted to spend her holiday doing self-inquiry. So she found some rocks, friendly rocks, down in the sea, and every day she'd go and sit in a kind of special place for her and do self-inquiry. And when she came back after maybe 2 weeks, she was very much, how can I say, something particularly profound had happened for her. And that particular opening stayed with her for quite a long time. She was actually a rather particular lady, I could say, very intelligent. She had a very unusual job. She worked in a computer company who did website designs. And they had a special department in this company where they were checking the final website pixel by pixel. And she was the boss of that particular part of the company. And even to get into the room, you had to go through some kind of security check, yeah? So you can imagine somebody who was the boss of a department looking for pixels had a very particular kind of mind. And I was a bit surprised, but later I realized that this is the kind of mind that works very well with Who Am I? Because you've got to have a strong intention, and you've also got to make a strong priority that this, how can I say, that the renunciation of all the mind's games, all the mind's knowledge and all this stuff has got to be given away. And this is, of course, not easy at all. And it takes time. And I would say that at some level of practice, you need to be able to attract a teacher into your life. So it's much easier to do this if you have somebody on the outside who is guiding and reminding and maybe pointing to the right direction. You know? So renunciation is very important. And then he uses the game of chess. He's saying a dim-witted participant in a game of chess plods through the various ranks of the king's army before finally reaching the king and checkmating him. So, for example, I have a daughter now, 9-year-old daughter, and a few months ago I started to teach her chess. And I'm not a very good player myself, so we actually have quite a lot of fun playing chess. And we do it exactly in this way. We start off and we gradually get rid of a few of the pawns, and then away this, and we take away that, and the game goes on and on and on. And when there isn't so much of the army left, then maybe either myself or actually off-water would checkmate my king, you see. So this is not a very exciting way to play chess. If you know anything about chess, you'll know that if you're a very good chess player, the whole thing is not like I've just described. You can go directly into the game and attack the king quickly and directly, and and win the game. You know? So he's saying the danger with this technique is that if you haven't got a strong renunciation in your life, what he really means by that is a high priority in your life. If you don't have that high priority, then you may be doing self-inquiry, but there is not enough juice, you can say, not enough really juice in the inquiry to really getting dealing with the I thought. So in the 3rd chapter, he's saying that if your renunciation remarkably great, you see, and this means in your life that you have some sort of priority. For example, the fact that you guys are all attending this Zoom meeting means that you have a pretty high level of priority. And then some of you are spending the whole week here, in this this program we're running called Transformation Week. So that, again, those of you who are here for that, shows another level of priority. And if you have a regular meditation practice in your life, something that you do regularly every day over months and months and years, this is also an incredible support to get a successful conclusion with self-inquiry. Ramana is very well known for saying that, who am I, dealing with this I, this is the strongest and in fact the last, how can I say, the last effort you can really make to become self-realized. It's not the only thing. He was also very strong to talk about surrender. So if you can deeply surrender, this may work for you very well together with self-inquiry. Self-inquiry in one hand and a deep renunciation and surrender in the other hand. And together, this is a very powerful combination, I would say. So he's saying here, if used with immense renunciation, Vichara lands upon the I thought as a bomb. Else it lands upon some tendency of the mind as a few pieces of buckshot. So it's very clear in Ramana's teachings that if we want to become realized, if we want to live in the self, it's necessary to deal with our strongest and relentless mind structures. So if you're not having the deepest priority, then of course you don't need to delve into all your mind structures, yeah. But if you have this intention to make such a big priority in your life, then you will come to some point where it will become clear you can't really make any progress until you've dealt with certain issues you have. And as everybody here knows, the issues are usually issues we've collected from Mummy and Daddy when we were quite small. And it's not always easy, of course, to know what those issues are. And 22 years ago, when we started this community, I had been traveling regularly around in Europe, giving meetings almost every night. And then at some point, I decided not to travel anymore. And I decided to put my energy into developing the community. One of the things that started to happen was that we realized that in our daily work together, I was saying earlier, very much self-support. And so we run a guest house, for example, which means we need to take the bookings, we need to clean the rooms, we need to welcome the guests. So these kind of jobs are bringing the income of the community. And of course, working together, maybe two people are cleaning one room, and one person forgets to take out the garbage, and then the other person gets upset. These kind of situations. It's so easy to, as soon as there's another person working together, they're so easy to have some kind of stronger situation, a little drama or something. And these dramas we have learned in our community are very important to gradually show us what our mind structures are. How do you otherwise know what are your issues? You can know many of your issues, but if you don't have a teacher and you don't have a situation in your life, it's very easy for years to pass by and nothing really to change. So what Ramana is telling in this particular text is that you have to have a very strong priority. Okay. So would somebody like to talk about what I'm just saying? We can have a dialogue together. There's a question. Okay, Cecilia.
Yo, en mi experiencia, voy a hablar en español porque me es más fácil el español.
So now I'm going to speak Spanish.
Okay, very good.
En mi experiencia, yo tuve, digamos, en el pasado, muchas experiencias de mucha energía, muy lo que llaman místicas.
So in my own experience in the past, I have had a lot of mystic experiences in my life.
Okay.
Ah, pero eso fue hace muchos, muchos años.
That was a long, long time ago.
Después se me repitieron alrededor del año 2012. Se
And then
repitieron.
again, they started again in 2012.
Right.
Y llegar a comprender lo que acabo de decir me costó mucho trabajo.
And then it was a lot of work to understand what I now understand.
Cuando empecé a darme cuenta que se trataba de los programas, fue un gran cambio porque yo seguía viviendo en el mundo, yo no estoy en una comunidad, yo estaba en un trabajo.
When I realized it was about mind structure, it was a breakthrough. Because I am not in a community, in the daily life.
Right, right.
Yo estudié ingeniería en una universidad.
I studied engineering in a university.
Y me tocó después tener un hijo, casarme y pasar por todas las vicisitudes.
And then I had a son and I got married and I went through all that kind of stuff.
Right, right.
Fue muy difícil solo a partir del año 2013.
It was very hard for me, but it was not only until 2013
empecé a entender que aunque yo sabía que una parte de mí vivía fuera de este mundo, había una parte que está dentro, que es la mente.
It was not only until then when I realized there was this part of me that was in the outside world, and there was the other side of me that was inside. It was the inner world.
Right, right.
Yo tenía que transformar, digamos, mi inconsciente, todo lo que mi mente ha grabado perfectamente, aunque no es consciente en un momento dado, se refleja en la vida diaria, como decías hace un momento.
I had to work out all this material that was unconscious and bring into life because it was not unconscious and it was a long way.
O sea que prestar atención a esto es lo más difícil.
Unfortunately, maybe
prestar atención a este Sorry.
I haven't got a translation of what you were saying.
Okay.
Are you there, Kyla? Could you translate her last?
Yeah, Cecilia, ¿puedes decir nuevamente lo último que dijiste? Porque no, se cortó un poco.
Que darse cuenta de que el inconsciente está todo el tiempo actuando y modificando tu estado presente.
The unconscious is all the time acting there and it's trying to modify your present day all the time.
Right.
Darse cuenta de esto y poner la atención plena en esto es realmente difícil y es donde la energía me ha apoyado siempre.
So realizing this and being aware, it's super difficult, but this is where I found energy that supports myself.
Right. But of course, what you were saying about you studied to be an engineer, and then you met somebody, got married, made children together, and that takes maybe, I don't know, 25 years of your life. And in that 25 years, your main focus is not inside. Your main focus is outside, of course. And most human beings are constantly living with the intention of outside. They'll get the answer outside, you know. If they do one more kid, or they're, I don't know, they get another husband, or I don't know, they have all kind of hopes that by doing something on the outside, they will get their intention. But finally, one has to realize that's not going to work, yeah? And you have to decide that the answer is going to be already inside you. So that moment when you realize the outside's never going to do it, however many things you're doing on the outside successfully, if you're hoping that those things are going to bring you peace, it's not going to work, and it doesn't work. But it maybe takes 25 years to discover that. And it maybe takes 2 or 3 husbands to discover that, or 2 or 3 children to discover that, you know. So this is a kind of subject which maybe is not so commonly discussed, because people more discuss, you know, this technique or that technique, or this kind of meditation or that kind of meditation, as if this other thing has no part to play. But you can meditate as much as you like, but if you think the outside is the answer, then you're never going to get it. You're not going to get the result that you want. So if you really have the priority for self-realization, and then to live in peace, day by day, moment by moment, if that is really a priority, then what I've come to understand is that you have to make this very clear priority. And most people can't make that priority because they are living in a society. They have friends, they have family, you know, grandmother wants one more kid, or whatever it is, you know. And it's very difficult. And in fact, in Europe, I don't know about South America, but I know here in Europe that very few people are able to make the priority for inside.
Yes. Difícil y doloroso and painful.
It's painful and very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you had this situation when you were 22, you said, that your father could give you a wonderful experience of the self, yeah? So this was amazingly lovely when you were 22 years old, and maybe it lasted some weeks or months, and that was wonderful. But then, you know, you went to the university and you studied, and then you met a man and you made a family, and without realizing exactly, you were completely taken in the wrong direction, you could say.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So my life was a big disaster.
Well, that's different. That most relationships are a complete disaster, but most of us have to do that. I mean, from myself, I have to admit, I had 2 wives and 2 kind of unofficial wives. You know, we didn't actually get married, but you know, so I mean, I was completely caught up in that for years. Nobody ever told me that I need to look at my relationship situation, because maybe it was sabotaging my spiritual interest. So from the age of 30, I had a very strong, and in fact, I was involved with in an ashram with Osho Rajneesh for many years. And I was a very good student. I was meditating a lot, blah, blah, blah. But nobody told me that maybe I should not look for a new wife, you know, maybe I didn't need a new wife, and that my wife should be meditation, you know. Nobody told me that, you see.
Nobody.
Huh?
Yeah, I understand perfectly.
Yeah, right. And I mean, when you've gone through the kind of pain of what we're talking about, because there's a lot of pain attached to it. You may love your husband, you may love your children, and there's nothing wrong in loving your husband and loving your children. But you have to know the effect that's going to have in a very subtle way to keep you always on the outside and not on the journey of inside. I mean, we know with Ramana Maharshi, for example, that he had this happening when he was 16 years old. Yeah, he was at school, he was 16, and he had what you could call a moment of self-realization. He didn't go and look for a girlfriend or a wife or making children. He went off. He went off to Arunachala mountain and spent the rest of his life more or less naked, walking around on the mountain for a few years, and then an ashram happened and so on. Yeah. But of course, this is one very particular human being, and maybe most human beings are not going to be having that priority. But now, since 22 years, I'm living in Germany in a community which is on average been about 18 people. So I've been living together with 18 people. And of course, those 18 people, they have made this priority to go inside. And then we support each other to go inside. And I didn't really plan to be involved in an ashram, actually. But when it started happening, I saw how important it was that somebody who has a sincere interest should get involved in an ashram or community where other people can also support each other. And I don't think this is talked about so much. Yeah. Any comment about that? You basically agree with me, I think.
¿Qué dijo de la última parte, Kaila?
Dice John David que si estás de acuerdo con lo que has dicho, que parece que sí estás de acuerdo con todo.
Pero en la última parte, él se refirió a que vivir en una comunidad era que fue lo que quiso decir, que no le entendí.
Que vivir en una comunidad no era su plan, pero que finalmente sucedió y que esto le ha enseñado mucho a descubrir las estructuras de la mente.
Dile que yo estoy de acuerdo, que lo que ocurre es que a mí me tocó la parte fuerte, porque yo no sabía que habían comunidades.
So I fully agree with you, but I have to say that in my case, it was a little bit stronger, the fact that I didn't know there were communities. So I didn't have any access to any community.
De todas maneras, creo que el trabajo se está haciendo porque, a ver, yo siento que esto se trata de transformar la mente. Porque
Nevertheless, I think the work's been done because somehow I think that my mind is somehow transforming.
Y nuestra mente la transformamos viviendo en lo que es, en lo que estamos viviendo, o sea, quedarse con lo que es.
And our life is transformed by staying with that is.
Right.
Ajá. In living with what it is. Entonces, bueno, me tocó estar fuera de una comunidad.
So it was not my case. I was not in a community.
Yo pienso, y mi papá decía también, que Ramana fue una persona muy importante porque él pudo soportar en él suficiente energía como para después poder transmitirla a nosotros.
So I think, and my father used to say that as well, that Ramana was very important because he was able to support all of that enormous amount of energy to support all of us.
En su cuerpo, soportar esa energía. La única manera era un hombre como Ramana, una persona muy especial que pudo sentir esa cantidad de energía en su cuerpo y poder sostenerla. Y poco a poco creo que la energía ha venido llegando.
So only Ramana could handle that. Only Ramana could handle that an enormous amount of energy and somehow transmit that energy to everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, one minute, just give me a moment to say something. So, for example, in Ramana's day, there were not so many people around him living in his ashram. There was not so many people, let's say 30 people maybe. But those people are the ones, or out of those 30 people, some of those ones were the ones who became self-realized. And so, although he attracted many visitors, and they came to the ashram and they bowed down in front of him, they had maybe some very beautiful experience, I think the ones who got the biggest benefit were the ones who decided to live in the ashram. And it's truly amazing to read about the people that came and lived in the ashram. For example, there was a soldier called Major Chadwick, and he heard about Ramana in 1930, maybe 4 or 5, from a book that was written by, oh God, who was he?
Brunton.
Paul Brunton. Yeah, Paul Brunton wrote a book in which he was saying how wonderful Ramana was. And this soldier in England, he read this book, he was very touched, and he came to India in 1935, and he lived in the ashram from 1935 for about 20 years until he passed away. And he was basically a regular kind of army soldier guy. He wasn't particularly obviously spiritual, but he came and he completely surrendered to Ramana, and he completely fell in love with Ramana, completely surrendered to Ramana. And in one way, he was a very unlikely person to get the full benefit, but he's exactly one of the people who did get the full benefit, because he completely surrendered. Yeah.
Sí, sí, y creo que la energía tiene que transformar el pensamiento, porque lo que en la humanidad tenemos que arreglar es la manera de pensar, nuestra manera de relacionarnos.
So I
La
think
manera,
humanity should somehow take all of this energy and change their mind, because I think humanity needs to change their minds.
Yeah,
también
but
la
you
forma.
know from your own experience, you were a young woman, rather beautiful, and men were attracted to you, you were attracted to them, you were working hard as an engineer, at weekends you wanted to have some fun, and then you got a husband, and then, you know, everybody's making children, you also made some children, and basically the whole of humanity is functioning like that, you know? I mean, I'm mainly living in Europe, and in Europe, there are two things. First of all, most people don't want to have a master or teacher. They say, I can do it myself, you know, I can do it myself. And this is completely not true. You can't do it yourself. Nobody can do it themselves, because although you can discover some of your structures by yourself, maybe you can deal with the easy one yourself. Unfortunately, there's almost structures which you yourself are not aware about. And you need someone on the outside, like a who can reflect back to you what he can see that you can't see. And then, of course, once you know that, you can then do some work, maybe to clear that up, you see. So what I've discovered in a way by chance over the last 20 odd years is the tremendous benefit of having an ashram. So I was traveling around teaching in different places, and I didn't know really the depth of work was necessary. But when the community started, I was forced to discover the amount of drama that most people are carrying with them. You can't really discover that just on one evening a year to meet somebody. I could never really discover that. But by living every day with some people, I could discover, and they could get the benefit of my discovery. And so I would say that, I mean, there aren't going to be so many ashrams or so many communities, but there are communities. There are a few communities. And I would say anybody who's sincerely interested should consider to live in a community with a teacher.
Kailash, can you translate it to me, please, the last part? What is the
Sí,
meaning?
él dice que realmente él viajó durante mucho tiempo a través de muchos sitios, pero no fue sino hasta hace 20 años que él empezó a hacer un ashram. Y él se dio cuenta de lo importante que es para vivir, para la gente en comunidad, porque es la única manera en la cual te puedes dar cuenta de todos los dramas y de todas las estructuras de la mente de los miembros de la comunidad.
No, estoy completamente de acuerdo. Particularmente, yo no voy a decir que es suerte, yo creo que el amor de la energía me acompañó tanto que me dio una ayuda similar a pesar de no estar en un ashram.
So even though I was not in an ashram, which I really appreciate, I think it was the energy of all of this love that I am carrying with that helped me a lot.
Yeah,
Help
I
me
can.
day by day, help me. But I
Right.
didn't live in a ashram, but the miracles exist also.
Right. Well, you got a great benefit, you see, because your father gave you a taste, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like with chocolate, you know, if you can imagine never eating chocolate, you would never know how wonderful chocolate is. But if somebody gives you a piece of chocolate, even a small piece, you can never forget the taste of chocolate. And it's the same thing. When you were 22, you got a taste of this amazing energy, which probably your father explained is your own essence. It's not something really special. It's just your natural essence that you discovered when you were 22. And you can never forget that, you see? You can never forget that.
Not
So,
possible.
yeah, right. So this...
It happened suddenly. I was talking with him like, okay, give me the sauce. I was, normal conversation. And then I see a big light. His image, his body disappeared. I remain sleeping. And the next day I say, what happened here? Who I am?
Right. Yeah, well, this is a great gift you got because you got given the taste of chocolate. And once you've tasted one piece of chocolate, you're always ready to taste more chocolate because it's very delicious, you know. So this is another reason why having a teacher or around you is also very good, because the teacher has the capacity to create a situation where you get a taste, taste of chocolate, if you like.
Yes, it is my dream. I was waiting for taste one more time for always, because I was with that chocolate for 8 months. Then it started to disappear.
Right.
But never disappear 100%. It's not possible. There is no possible. It's always, always.
Right. Because the reality is that the essence inside every human being is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for our own essence. We're not looking for something outside, When I first started my spiritual work when I was 30, I was looking outside for some kind of amazing experience. I would explode into a kind of fantastic something, yeah? This was my idea, I had no idea really, but that was my sort of idea about it. I would become enlightened one day and, there would be kind of, lots of lights and energy, and it would all be wonderful. But of course, the reality is the exact opposite of that. It's about taking away the things that prevent you being in your own nature. So everybody is carrying the full potential inside them.
Mi confusión fue que yo creía que todo el mundo conocía eso y que yo lo había descubierto solamente yo, y me tardé mucho en darme cuenta que nadie entendía de qué yo hablaba.
My conclusion was that everyone knew this, and I discovered it somehow, but then I realized that in reality, no one knew this. And I was the only one that was able to taste.
Nobody knows. Isn't this an amazing tragedy? I mean, there are human tragedy. Like at the moment, Mr. Trump is one of the tragedies at the moment on this planet, yeah? But the tragedy where most of humanity never meets their own essence is an amazing tragedy, because it's not so difficult actually to come to your own essence, because your own essence has been there as soon as you arrived on the planet. Your essence was there, and that's why, for example, little children are so lovely, because they are carrying the essence. They're living from their essence, and then of course the parents gradually create some structures, some rules, some philosophy or religion or something. Yeah? And as we get older, we get in a way farther and further away from our own essence. And teachers are very useful because they remind us that there is something very important which we can easily forget about.
Ya. Muchas cosas ocurren traumas, ocurren dolores en la mente, ocurren cosas que no se entienden.
So over my life, many things happened, traumas, dramas, many things that you don't really understand.
And then you become, después terminas separado completamente del ser. Y
Then
es
you split from the self.
Yeah, yeah.
Es una gran dificultad. No sé cuánta gente él piensa que, me gustaría que él dijera cómo piensa él que la gente actualmente, si vive desde el ser, o yo considero que a mi alrededor no conozco personas que vivan desde el ser. Mi papá fue la única que conocí y ya no está aquí.
So I would like you to maybe perhaps tell me, what do you think about people living in the self? I haven't met many people living in the self. And probably it was only my father who was living in the self.
Well, if you really want to if you want to meet people who are living in the self, I could suggest you could consider coming next year in January to India, to Arunachala, to my retreat. We have a very beautiful small ashram where we can rent it every year for 3 weeks. And we make our own kitchen and we make a small community. And this is a 10-minute walk from Ramana Ashram. And I have a very beautiful connection to about 6 Indian masters. 3 of them are women and 3 of them are men. And these are exceptionally beautiful masters. If you'd like to get a taste, if you go on YouTube, I recently posted 5 1.5 hours interviews with a woman called Ma Devaki. Deviki, Devaki. Devaki, Ma Devaki. And these, if you watch these 5 videos, you'll be completely touched. She's a totally wonderful woman. And in my opinion, she's one of the most beautiful masters I've met in India in 40, 50 years, you know. So she's a very special woman. She's got her own guru, her own master, who she surrendered to. And I would say that would be something, just to watch those 5 1.5 hour films that are on YouTube. They're also on my website. On my website, we have a section of videos, and I've interviewed actually about 15 Indian masters. And the interviews I did with these masters are also on my website. And at the moment, we're posting them up on YouTube. So I've actually had the good luck in my life to have close personal contact with probably 20 Indian masters and probably another 20 Western masters. So for some reason, I spent quite a lot of time interviewing different spiritual, I would call them masters, not all masters, whatever that means. People who are living, as you were just saying, living in the self.
Sí, obviamente hay
people
mucho.
do exist, but you have to go looking for them, because it's like discovering a tiger or something. They're very rare beasts.
Sí, hay muchos, pero digamos no es común en nuestra sociedad. Me refería un poco más a la sociedad que a gente dedicada a la espiritualidad. Allá hay mucho. Claro.
Yes, I think there are obviously there are some people that are not many around in this part of the world.
In society, you know.
Right, right. But
It's-
probably you're living in Venezuela, are you? Did you say?
No, Panama.
Panama, yeah. I don't know anybody living in Panama, but there could be somebody, I think. Yeah.
In somewhere.
Well, I'm telling you, at Arunachala Mountain in South India, I can give you the names of 6 people like that. And there are other ones who I don't personally feel a connection, but there are other teachers there. But the woman Devaki, Ma Devaki, I would say she's one of the very outstanding people, because she's also a woman and she's a very intelligent woman. So this is a very unusual, she's a very unusual master.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I want to know her.
Okay, so I think I say goodbye now. Very nice talking with you, and we'll see, is there somebody else who would like to have a dialogue with me? I think we'll continue a bit later tonight, so we have time. Okay, Matthias?
Okay, Matthias.
Mattia, yeah. Okay.
So you were talking about the effect of a spiritual community. And what can you say about living at your house for 1 week or being with you for a retreat? How much is possible in such shorter times to be in connection with community and teaching?
Sure. Well, it depends on the level. It depends on where you are on the journey, you know. I mean, when I offer a retreat, there are people coming to the retreat who have very little experience of meditation, for example. Maybe they met me and then something seemed interesting and they decide to come, so they're really beginners. And there are also people that come who are very experienced and have done already self-inquiry and a lot of meditation. So in the end, I would say that if you have this priority, even 1 week can be the right thing in your moment of the journey, you know. Whether you're a beginner, it gets you going. And if you're experienced and knowledgeable and mature, then maybe in that week you get some particular value, you get some particular question answered maybe. So, for example, what I can say about our community where I'm sitting right now, this week we're offering something which we offer once a month. We call it Transformation Week. And we offer a program where we give people a kind of hands-on glimpse of the self, actually, of the self, and also of the kind of energy of our community and so on. And also people, of course, can meet John David and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, if somebody is really interested in the case of our community and my work as a teacher, we're completely available. So you can come for 1 day, you can come for 1 week, you can come for 1 month, you can come for 1 lifetime. It's all up to you. And of course, we are all influenced by our kind of practical life. We have a job, maybe, you know, we have a family, we have a wife, we have children. All these things influence our ability to go more deeply in the energy field. I was talking today to 2 of the people who have just come 2 days ago for this present week. And they were both in their different ways. They were both telling me that they're kind of surprised by the energy they feel in this community. And you were saying that you've been here recently for, I don't know, 1 day or 2 days. So you yourself must have experienced that energy, which is why you're
Yeah.
on Zoom meeting tonight, maybe.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I mean, I would say our community and John David are amazingly available. As I say, you can come for lunch, you can come for one day, you can come for 1 week, you can come for one lifetime, whatever you want, you know. The place is called Open Sky, which means it's available for everybody.
So you're not talking only about the transformation week. Your house is open anytime. Do I understand right?
24 hours a day, every day of the year. You can come anytime it suits you.
Fine, fine.
But of course, you know, the retreat times are particularly intense times compared to a regular day or week, because we're also running our businesses. And so
Of course.
it's not that we're doing spiritual work all the time. It's going to change.
But a normal week is similar to a transformation week in the mixture of daily work and satsang.
No, actually, no. What we're offering in Transformation Week is that, you know, in our community, we have a meditation in the morning, at lunchtime, and we eat dinner together in silence. So we have 3 meditations in the regular day, and those are happening in the Transformation Week, but they're also happening in an ordinary week. And then in an ordinary week, we're all working, you know, cleaning rooms, washing dishes, cleaning the floor. So we're doing like a regular life. And then we have some things happening in the evening. We very often have mantra singing one evening. We also do theater together one evening. And we may watch a film together one evening. So there are things happening in the evenings. But in Transformation Week, we offer a program each evening, which has a kind of intention in it. And from the way you've been asking questions and showing your interest, I would say you would get a lot of benefit from coming to actual Transformation Week. Like this week, we have 10 people here, and I think already those people are affected by the energy here. But this is only the second day, so maybe by the end of the week, you know, they'll be more affected by the energy, you see. But I tell you something which is always a bit shocking to us who've decided to live here together. Many people come to our community and, for example, stay for a week or weekend, and at the end of their weekend or the end of their week, they tell us, wow, it's so wonderful, wow. And we never meet them again. They never come back, you see. So how to understand that? And the way we would understand it, or the way I would understand it, is that actually people are very afraid of this situation where you feel tremendous energy or you feel tremendous love. Because actually, basically, this energy is love, true love. Yeah? Not I love you. It's not relationship love or romantic love. This is another love, which is actually our essence. So people can feel this, but they don't really know it. And so they become scared, they become afraid. So although many people come here and have a wonderful experience, they then disappear. And this is hard to understand, but it's also maybe natural that something we don't really understand, we get afraid of. And self-realization is very scary, actually, because basically you have to die. All the stuff that you think is me, or I, has to go. So this is pretty scary because we're very attached to our me, as you know. Yeah.
I know well, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good. Oh, you're all still here. I'm surprised. Wow. Anybody else like to have a talk? Kristen? Kristen?
Yeah.
Ah, I'm surprised to see you.
Yes, it took
You
some
you really
time.
want to have a talk? Do you really want to have a talk with me?
Yes. Why not?
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome, you know.
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
mean, when you were leaving, I gave you some rather honest feedback, and half was very nice and half was very not nice.
Mm.
So I don't know if that was a kick up the pants or what, but you know, I was saying that you have this ability to be quiet, you know. So this ability to be quiet, I would say, is a very great achievement that you've actually achieved.
Mm. Um, yes, I just dropped right into my question. I don't
Go
want to
on, yeah.
talk about what happened before and what happened when I left
Fine.
and so on.
Tell me your question, yeah.
I have a lot of longing for really sitting in silence for a long time or over and over again during a day. And on the other hand, there is this daily life which is outside in the normal world where I live. I'm not living in an ashram, and where I feel obliged to support the other people around me and to do things which are good for them. And the result is that I don't sit in silence as much as I like to and as I want to, but are busy with a lot of other things every day.
That's the other part of what I was saying when you left, yeah? Because I called you the wet wood type. You see, and you got upset by that, but this is being very honest, because what you just described is actually sabotaging the silent part of you.
Mm. But well, what can I do? I could stop living here. I could sell the house and throw everybody out who's living here. I could quit.
Well, you don't have to. You
talking
don't have
to
to.
my.
Yeah, but don't you see what you're saying to me is not going to impress me, because you don't have to sell the house and you don't have to throw the people out. You have to throw yourself out. That's what you have to do. You have to throw you out, and then you carry on renting the house, and the money you get from renting the house, you can go and sit in a cave somewhere and be silent.
That's one of the.
Today, for example, there was a very nice man who spent 1 week in our cellar. You know, we have a dark cellar here. He spent 1 week there, you see.
Mm.
You can spend 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months if you like. We'll feed you every day, keep you alive, and you can sit in silence.
That's good. Yeah.
But you're not gonna do it, you see. I'm pretty sure you're not gonna do it.
Well, I did it some years ago. I quit the house and spent a lot of time in Switzerland and on the Canary Islands and.
But you weren't sitting in silence, I doubt.
No, not all the time.
You were probably chasing nice young ladies or something.
Well, yes, that too. But I was sitting more in silence than I managed to do nowadays. That's true.
Yeah.
Um,
But you know, I was saying earlier, you know, I'm talking to the lady from South America. I mean, I kind of talked about your question, because This is actually many people's question.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of like to live in their essence. You know, they would kind of, in theory, like it. It sounds like a nice idea. And she had very big when she was 22, but then she became an engineer. She met a beautiful husband, probably, and had beautiful children. And then 25 years passed by. So, I mean, everybody has a choice, you know.
Yeah.
We have a choice. Nobody is telling us how we have to live. And I mean, I would say, I mean, it's nice that you came on tonight's meeting because I have another chance to have a go at you. But I can respect that you have a lot of serious interest, you know, and you have a good silence. But then on the other side, which sabotages that, you have ideas like how you have to help everybody and, I don't know, keep the house going, and you have to do this and you have to do that, yeah. And you've got a wife, of course. So, or you've got somebody you live together with, yeah. So you haven't come yet to the really strong priority to live in self. It's an idea, but it's not yet really a strong reality in you. Is that not true?
Yes, I still, well, I don't really wait. I have a feeling I work on it, but there hasn't been sort of a bell ringing and saying, okay, now it's this. For example, with Open Sky House, there wasn't the bell ringing. Okay, now you move to Open Sky House, leave the house behind. It's no problem. They handled it some way. Might be not be the best way, but good enough. So, and it's rather, for me, I'm rather being drawn to some mountain cave or something like that.
Yeah, because you have an authority issue, darling. Don't you know it?
I have an authority. I didn't understand that.
You have an issue about authority. You definitely didn't like John David very much, and you particularly didn't like him when he called you a wet wood. You see, but if you would understand why I'm calling you a wet wood, you would absolutely appreciate me for saying that to you. But you didn't. You didn't like it, and you didn't like me, and you don't actually want a teacher. I could say one more terrible thing. Would you like to hear that?
Yes.
Okay, you give me a great chance now. So, see, it's not so easy to have a teacher, you see. I mean, there are teachers and teachers. So I would say you would be fairly relaxed to go to a teacher who is teaching you to go deeper into silence. He would be comfortable for you. But you wouldn't want to have a teacher like John David who's disturbing you, disturbing your kind of nice ideas about, you know, I'm doing a spiritual life, not maybe completely, but I'm doing pretty good and better than most people, and all these kind of nice ideas, which keeps you sabotaging yourself, you see. And you don't want somebody like John David who makes you feel uncomfortable. I mean, it's amazing that you're letting me tell you all this. I'm making you uncomfortable. You don't want comfortable. You'd rather be comfortable.
I admit there's at least one strong
You'll
part
be in
in me
bed with
that,
your lady, a nice cuddle.
sorry, but I don't really hear you a lot. The internet is not really working very well. It's always interrupted.
Well, I can hear you very well, sir.
Okay,
and I can hear
now I
me
hear you
very
too.
well.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that with my lady cuddle?
I was saying that in 1 hour's time, right, you will be probably in bed with your lady having a cuddle, you know, and it's okay, you know, it's not, there's nothing wrong with it, you know. But, you know, you have to see that the effect of that cuddle is actually sabotaging the part of you who is a sincere person who would like to live in the self. Nothing she's doing, it's something you're doing for whatever reason. I mean, tonight in this passage, Ramana was talking about the importance of renunciation. Yeah, he basically is talking about how important it is to make a clear priority. Right? For example, the young Indian man who in 1936 came to the ashram. He arrived in the ashram with his parents, and he wasn't interested even to go to the ashram. His parents kind of forced him to go to the ashram. And then he walked in and he had this meeting with Ramana. And in that moment, he completely fell in love with Ramana, completely surrendered to Ramana, and then begged his parents that he could stay there, and they found a room for him in the town. They said, we'll support you for 6 months, you can stay here for 6 months. And he was then spending 6 months. He was the first one to visit the ashram in the morning, and he was the last one to go home in the evening. And then in the night, he didn't sleep that much. He was writing a diary of what he had heard that day. Right? And now 80 years later, that diary has now been already published in 2 books, and we're planning 2 more books actually. So this material is now finding its way into the world 80 years after it was recorded by this young man. And in this particular book, which you might want to see, this book has got 30 pages about this young man, about his life. And in his life, he was understanding that Ramana was teaching self-inquiry, but he never did self-inquiry. He wasn't interested in self-inquiry. His practice was surrendering to Bhagwan. He completely surrendered to Bhagwan. You know? His whole life for 6 months was completely consumed by this connection he felt with Ramana. And maybe it's not completely easy to understand that kind of connection, you see, because, he came there as a young man in his 20s. He wasn't a mature sort of person at that age, probably. So how it happened with him, for example, and I was giving the other example of Major Chadwick, who was, I don't know how old he was, maybe 50, 60 years old. He came from England. He was in the First World War, and then he came to Ramana. And again, he was completely surrendering himself. He never went back to England. He never called his friends, come and visit me or something. He just completely surrendered to being with Ramana. And he died in the ashram. He's buried in the ashram. I'm not saying you have to do this, but I'm saying that's what the people around, closely around, what they actually did.
Yes.
You don't have to do it. You're not a bad.
That really
man.
feel well. I have a mechanism. I have a mechanism in me when I hear such a story. I have a mechanism in me that says, if you want to go there, if you really renounce and really submit and surrender, you have to do it that way, and that makes the level very high, the step very high. I guess it is so. To take that to yeah. Okay, to say well, if I have to do it that way, the house and
Well, sitting in a cave by yourself won't do it. Sorry. Very unlikely. I mean, very few people, I think, have ever done it by themselves in a cave.
Well, I don't say it has to be a cave on its own. It can be a cave and a teacher or and a guru, of course.
Right, right.
What?
Yeah. Well, choose a nasty guru who will tell you things you don't want to hear, you see. No good having a nice guru who tells you what you want to know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't care about that. What really would make me feel, I don't know if I could do it at all, was leave my mother behind and say, okay, never see you again, goodbye.
Well, I don't think you have to do that. Even Ramana welcomed his mother, and she
When
lived
she came,
she came and she lived in the ashram and she cooked and so on. And then she suddenly died, and then she was buried down the mountain because she couldn't be buried on the mountain, so they buried her at the bottom of the mountain. And then gradually that became in the ashram. The ashram basically started around the mother's tomb, you see.
Ah, okay.
That's how the ashram actually was created. So you can bring your mother along if you want. We've got lots of extra rooms here, and we give one for your mother.
She's really stubborn. She's doing her thing. She will visit me, but she won't come to the ashram. I've introduced her to some spiritual things like Eckhart Tolle or books like that, and she said, "Yeah, okay, it's nice, but it's not for me."
Right.
She's rather a stoic philosopher.
Right. And maybe you are a bit influenced from her, because
I guess so.
When you say she's a bit stubborn, I would say I could say, well, me too, or you too, you know.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm happy to have this talk, and you're welcome, of course, to come when you want, you know, and come.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking for a cave for 2 or 3 weeks in June.
Well, we have a cave here. You can we can come and stay for. You don't have to meet. You don't have to meet me. The cave is being run by Radha, who's kind of a nice woman, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we I think we're going to finish now, because we had quite a long meeting, and I really like to thank the people who've engaged in a dialogue. I think we had quite interesting dialogues tonight, and it's lovely that we have people from many countries tonight. Dear old England, represented by Bhaskar in the red t-shirt. And you know, can you see Bhaskar's muscles? Can you show us one of your muscles, baby? Can you do this kind of thing? He's got these really huge muscles. Yeah. You see? So when he came to my retreat in January in India, and when I arrived there for the retreat, somebody told me, you know, Bhaskar, he's already rented a gym in the town where he can carry on his exercises, you know, because he's a bodybuilder, you know, with all these muscles and things. And I thought, wow, that's a bit funny. You come to a retreat like that, and then you go to the gym every day to make your muscles bigger, you know. But actually, he gave that up fairly quickly, didn't you, Bhaskar? Or were you secretly going every day? I guess he gave up.
No, I didn't go at all. I paid for a membership for 3 weeks, and I didn't go once, which was quite interesting. But I think it was. I think when I had the experience after we did the self-enquiry exercise, and I suddenly disappeared for a little while, it was quite beautiful, actually. To be honest, I can't describe it to anybody. People, when I've come back to England and people said, "Oh, you know, was it great?" And I said, "Oh, it's just amazing." And "Oh, what happened? What happened?" I said, I can't explain it. I disappeared, and all that was there was just this serenity and beautiful silence, and everything disappeared, and it was like the most chilled out, relaxed, peaceful I've ever been in my life, to be perfectly honest. And I've taken that away from there, and obviously I've had other responsibilities, you know, as you know, with my parents, house sale, and making sure that everybody gets the money and all this sort of stuff, which has now gone to plan finally. But there's just one thing I do want to show you before I have this. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
No, you
No.
sort of,
So
you suddenly disappeared. I can only see
yeah, it's okay.
Arunachala. Oh, now I see something.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I have
Okay.
that with
Oh, you've made it.
um,
Is that a poster? You made a poster or something?
no, it's this one I bought in the ashram when I
Oh,
was there, and I've kept it with me. So if I get a little bit cheesed off with how things are going, I just keep reading it, and to remind myself that the ordainer has already put its play in action, and what will be, no matter what I try to do to change things. So
right.
it helps me just ground myself when I get a bit cheesed off with things.
Right.
But
Right.
I do have to say I started reading the book as well, and
Right.
I'd like to at some point sort of like I want to look more into Major Chadwick in particular, and I want to research his life story a little bit more, because he was a soldier as well, and that's just a
Right.
little something I want to do, because obviously I paid my respects to him when I was at the ashram, but I just want to know a little bit more about his story, and
Yeah, he's written a book about his life and his lifetime
yeah.
background. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I'm going to get the book, and I'm just going to go read through that. But I think from the discussions that we've had tonight, I think um, it was nice to sort of like hear some of the people's stories about how they're sort of like getting um, going on their spiritual journey. But there's only one thing. There's an old cliche we have in England, and it means you'll only get out of it what you put into it. So if you give that time and give that priority, then you'll hopefully find that path. And although there's other things that we do in life and other things go on, you need to find that little bit of time somewhere to do that self-inquiry, do that meditation. And then remember that don't be obsessed with objects. Focus more on the subject.
Right. Right. Okay. Very good. Good way to end the meeting tonight. So I will say good night. Wait a minute. Just okay. So I say good night, and next Tuesday I'm here again. And this week on Friday, I have a public meeting in the house. You can come to the actual meeting in the house if you live nearby, or you can do it through Zoom, and you can come into the meeting through Zoom. So if you're living far away and you'd like to have contact with me on Friday, each week on Friday, you can ask Ohm to help you with the tech, how to connect with the tech stuff. Yeah. Okay. Very nice. Okay. Good night. Good night.